lovely people. So, I'm back with another long-form video. It's already been a week. I don't know how that's even possible, but apparently, somehow, we're already a week in. Which means that it's time for another America 250 Saturday and another long-form video. And well, today, I'm going to focus on someone who, well, really deserves the spotlight because of the way he saved the American Revolution. Like, without him, I don't think the United States would be a country. But I'm surprised how many people don't even know about it. So tonight we're talking about the first Secretary of War, Henry Knox. When the Revolutionary War broke out, Henry Knox was the age of 25. Knox had lived in Boston his entire life. And in Boston, he owned and operated a bookstore. Now, Knox was also witness to the Boston Massacre in 1770, which will certainly do a number on you and probably impassion you to fight the British. Owning a bookstore, he had access to a lot of knowledge. And what did he do with this knowledge? He self-educated himself in a lot of different military fields, but most specifically, artillery science and military strategy. And this would prove useful in late 1775 as the Americans are trying to take back Boston. So what's going on in Boston is that the Continental Army has surrounded the city, and they could take it if they had heavy artillery. But they don't. Why? Well, it's because the nearest heavy artillery is 300 miles away through rough wilderness in the middle of winter. We're not just talking like a few cannons, like, oh, they could probably pull it from somewhere else, but like dozens. They captured dozens from the British. But there's no way to use them in Boston, except to go through that stretch of land. And you might think I'm getting off topic a little bit, like, hey, what happened to Henry Knox? Well, here we go. So when the war broke out, Henry would join the militia and besiege Boston. And he also directed cannon fire at the Battle of Bunker Hill. Now, George Washington arrives in the summer, and he's pretty happy with this. Him and Henry Knox become good friends. And as the siege of Boston wears on, it becomes clear that the Americans need something to turn the tides and just get in the city. Here comes the cannons. It's said that Knox actually suggested that they get the cannons to help turn the tides of the siege. And George Washington was like, yeah, okay, that sounds great, but how are we going to get them here? Knox was like, hey, I'll do it. I'll put them to the wilderness. It won't take more than 2 weeks. And thus, George Washington put him in charge of bringing that artillery from Fort Ticonderoga to Boston. On December 5th, Knox began the Noble Train of Artillery, which was a train of 60 tons of cannons and siege weapons pulled by horses and oxen across around 300 miles of mountains and frozen rivers. And here's where things really get crazy. So imagine tugging 60 tons of artillery over a frozen river. Like, think about that for a second. This was a really difficult task. I don't think you understand exactly what they were up against. This is a little bit of a way to show you Henry Knox initially thought it would take 2 weeks. It ended up taking about 6. Cannons were breaking through the ice. They had to dig through deep snow, up mountains, and without very much help. Like, they almost failed. It was almost impossible. But against all odds, Henry Knox achieved one of the most amazing feats of logistics in human history. So these cannons do arrive in early 1776. And Henry Knox has not lost a single one. All the cannons from Fort Ticonderoga are now on the Dorchester Heights, a cliff overlooking Boston and British positions in that area. So imagine how shocked the Americans are. And then multiply that by like 20, and then you're in the British shoes. There's dozens of cannons overlooking your city. What are you gonna do? The madman actually did it. He actually got all that artillery over the mountains, 300 miles. We're screwed. And the British don't even put up a fight. They just evacuate. Like, what are they going to do? And this battle achieves a few things. It's a giant morale boost, proving that, yeah, the Continental Army can win against the British Empire. It also shows George Washington how useful Henry Knox is. And it was partially because of this that Henry Knox became the first United States Secretary of War to George Washington. What makes all this more insane, and I hinted at the beginning, was that Henry Knox taught himself all of this military logistics by reading books. He had a little bit of training and expertise, but a lot of it came from the books he read. So what's the moral of this story? Kids, if you want to be the Secretary of War, just own a bookstore. And, drag 60 tons of artillery up a mountain. Then you're a possible candidate, all right? Now, he wasn't done after this. He would continue serving in the Continental Army, serving in the New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia campaigns. He also established the first artillery school for the Continental Army, where he trained about 1,000 soldiers in the arts of artillery through the summer of 1779. And like I've already said a few times over, he served as Secretary of War under George Washington following that, where the majority of his time was spent fighting the American Indian Wars, a problem he would try to solve but never quite finished in his years in office. He was forced out of office in 1795 after a scandal with naval contracts that supposedly fed into his own pockets, and he would die 11 years later swallowing a chicken bone that infected his throat and killed him. Which is not how I expected Henry Knox to go out, but... And also, yes, Fort Knox, the largest gold deposit in the United States, was named after him. Well, guys, I've had a really good time talking to you about Henry Knox, and I hope to see you again soon. So remember, like, subscribe, and share. You really have no idea how much it helps out small creators like me. And remember, another day, another story.